Going on, March 2020 saw media activity getting disrupted like no other. Cinema halls closed, free movement hampered. OOH was pretty much one of the first casualties. Radio was another, and with circulation being hit, print was too. We have a very special speaker here with us who will tell us how to get print, radio, and outdoor, some of the most badly hit mediums of the COVID year, back to good times. I'm sure you'd want to listen into this one. Don't forget to keep tweeting also using our hashtag PMAR2021. I'd like to welcome amidst your virtual applause Ms. Apurva Purohit, President Jagran Prakashan. A very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Khyati. Thank you for inviting me here. And as you've so evocatively said, yes, 20 was a highly disruptive year. I think gathered today recognize categorically that the devastation and the decision it wreaked on everything, not just print, radio, but on the entire economy, on our lifestyles, on the way we interact with people, on the way we look at things around us, has been absolutely devastating. However, however large may have been the scale of impact of last year in its devastation, I strongly feel that the moment that we are standing, as we stand at the beginning of 2021, at hopefully the tail end of this particular crisis, is an equally, if not even more seminal one. Of course, last year has been devastating. Of course, the last year has been disruptive. In all our collective living memories, I don't think we saw a year like that. But I think it's less about what happened last year, and it is more about what will happen as we go forward. What are the choices we will make? What is the judgment we will draw? What is the conclusion we will infer out of what happened last year? And I say that this moment that we are in today is truly a seminal one, because never before has the probability of a positive outcome and the probability of a negative outcome absolutely the same. So today, when we stand at the threshold of 21, there is a 50% chance that tomorrow will be better. We will get out of this hole and things will be positive, things will improve. We will see the summer of hope. Equally, there is a 50% probability that we are staring at the edge of an abyss and things can go far worse than they have been today. It is, I think for the first time, at least in my experience, a Schrodinger's cat in our lifetime. You all know the Schrodinger cat experiment, that before you open the box, there was a 50% probability that the cat will be dead or the cat will be alive. It's only when we open the box we know whether the cat is alive or dead. And that 50% probability is playing out today. So what will actually convert this 50% positive probability to a higher probability? What can you and I do together to ensure that a future is brighter than last year's been? And I think for that to happen, it is really the choices you as leaders of businesses, as managers of media, the judgments that you draw and the conclusions you make, the learnings that you take forward of the last 1 year are going to be the only differentiator in ensuring whether we have a winter or a summer staring at us tomorrow. And to draw the right conclusions, to make the right choices, leaders need to know which trends in their business, which trends in their industry are the trends that are going to be the long-term ones and the trends that they need to latch on to if they want to see growth for both their businesses and the industry. So, what I'm going to do over the next 15 minutes is actually share with you three of the trends that I see that will play out for the media industry and the macro trends that will define our future. And if we easily pick up on these trends, I'm sure the future is going to be bright. So, the first trend that I want to talk about, next slide, please, is this entire trend of hybridization. I think in bits and pieces, we understood somewhere intuitively that hybridization is the way of the future. But it's only last year where we've actually seen that hybridization has come in our lives in each and every facet. Whether you look at this whole work from home, flexi time experiment, so here everybody sat at home. And today, as the markets are opening out, it's not necessarily that everybody will come back to the old way of working and everybody will be back 100% here. We all recognize that there is a hybrid work model that will suit everybody. So coming fully back to work is also not good enough. So there is a hybrid model that all of us want to figure out and believe will be the efficient one. Similarly, the same trend of hybridization we are seeing, whether it is in the retail industry, whether it is about buying online, going to the line, the customer engagement that you get offline, matched with the phygital model where you search for things online, you compare prices online, but for the touch and feel, you go offline. Is in the fast food industry where initially there was skepticism, so dine in was the only way the fast food industry would be able to build their margins, and they always saw taste as competition and something that they have to ensure doesn't work. Today, everybody in the fast food industry is talking of three models operating: the dine in model, the takeaway model, and the and a model which is a hybrid of both these working together. So Phygital, Bopis is really how we are seeing all our marketers think of their businesses. From brick and mortar to complete digital was one way that worked a few years ago, but I think people are increasingly realizing that it cannot be either brick, it cannot be complete transition to digital. There is a model in between that will be the most successful one. And repeatedly, when we do surveys and researches, the consumer is telling us this, that we buy both online and offline. We don't want to move completely to digital because we lose the touch and feel, and yet digital efficient than the touch and feel. So give us a hybrid model. And this hybrid model is something that will play out even more in a country like India, which is so complicated that the urban rich and the rural rich, the urban poor and the rural poor, north rich and the south SECA, very different animals. They are in very different life stages. So I think the first thing that we all need to recognize that our clients and advertisers have understood the power of hybrid, and that is what we as media buyers and sellers need to give them. Next slide, please. However, the unfortunate reality is that structured structured the binary fashion. So for some reason over the last several years, we think of media, we buy media, and we sell media in a very, very binary fashion. So either you are a TV consumer or a radio consumer. Either you go out of the house and you see outdoor, or you're sitting at home and you've never experienced outdoor. Either you read print, or you watch TV, or you are digital. So if you see how we are structured, if you see how India is structured, But radio plus digital, even if I want to do a radio plus digital plan, I don't know whom to go and, because there's a radio buyer, and then when we start talking about digital, we are asked to go and meet the digital agency. Where the reality is that the media consumer, next slide please, has historically always been hybrid. Can you please maximize these tables? You know, I started working in media 32 years ago. And 32 years, I was told that, print is on its last legs, and print, there is nothing more that we can do in print 32 years ago. And decade after decade, I just see that print reach has been going up, radio reach has been going up, television reach has been going up. Digital has come, but despite that, if you see the figures on the right hand side, 2010 to 2019, these are IRS figures. Digital has gone up dramatically, but so has television, so has radio, so has print. A research that we did recently before COVID and during COVID about the time that gets spent on media, you will see that each and every number has only gone up. People spent more time watching television, they spent more time interacting with internet. But did that mean that they spend lesser time on print, on radio? No, time spent on all media has gone up. But the unfortunate truth is that even today, there are more media plans which are single media plans. Look at the FMCG category. 100% of their advertising seems to be only on television. When the consumer that they are trying to reach out to doesn't see herself as a TV or an OTT viewer or only a digital viewer, she sees herself as consuming all forms of media and is completely comfortable transitioning from reading the newspaper in the morning to moving on to listening to radio, then coming back to watching television in the evening and spending some time on the net. Unfortunately, we have classified her as a binary consumer. Next slide, please. When research after research that we have done has shown us that only if you take multiple media can you really efficiently and effectively reach out to this hybrid consumer who is platform agnostic, who is media agnostic. Several years ago, when RAM and TAM together did some surveys, they pointed out to all of us that if 10% of a given television budget was replowed onto radio, the efficiency of the campaign would improve by 15%. Just last year, just before COVID, we did a campaign for one of our baby product clients, and this is clients' research. When they did a print campaign and then they did a print active campaign, their sales went up by 42%. I've been in the television industry and I know that for television, after their own promote their serials, the next best option is radio, which is why television and OTT is one of the highest advertisers on radio. So I can just go on and on and on. Every case study talks about the power of a media campaign to reach out to the hybrid media consumer. Our advertisers are realizing that the world is becoming hybrid. The world is a phygital world. And increasingly, they will expect us to give a phygital solution to them. I'm not sure whether we are geared up to that, both as sellers and as buyers. Yeah. The second trend that I want to talk about is, obviously we know the ubiquity of content. It is there everywhere. We consume content, we produce content as individual people. There are trillions and trillions of terabytes and bytes of content around us all the time, ceaselessly, continuously. Ironically, with this plethora of content, with this increase of content, equally we are seeing diminishing credibility in the content that people consume. Reuters study, a very recent 2020 Reuters study done across 40 countries, says that less than 4 in 10, just 38% people trust the news most of the time. Equally interesting is the fact that less than 46% say that they trust the news they themselves use. So I'm using the news, but I don't trust it. These are figures that we're reading about when we look at consumption of content and the credibility around fake news. News is no longer a word. It's always coming attached with the prefix of fake these days. The interesting fallout of this is that the trust of legacy media has only gone up. As credibility of news consumption has gone down, trust in legacy media brands has gone up. And I think this is something that we all recognize intuitively, because when there is flux, when there is uncertainty around us, we tend to go back to our roots. We tend to go back to brands that we trusted, to brands that we grew up with. We almost tend to go back to ghar ka khana. And research tells us that in moments of heightened uncertainty, consumers don't want to try anything new. And this, again, is a factor that, if you really put math to the English that I'm speaking, is something that all of us recognize. Because after all, what is trust? Trust is built only over time. And trust is built not only over time, but it is built over time when you are able to give consistent quality over that time. And if you see the research, for some reason, the table is not visible. Can you please click on this slide again? The table on the right side is not visible, which, yeah. So a media credibility study that was done recently talked about having the highest credibility. And no surprises there. I think all of us understand that print media brands have been around for centuries. Over centuries, the way they have presented news, the way they have presented content to readers has been after a huge amount of work that goes in fact checking. We are using fact checking as a new word right now, but fact checking is what journalists who first wrote the article gave it to the sub editor, who corrected, who then gave it to the senior editor, who recorrected it, who then gave it to the chief editor, who put. That is how news has been disseminated in print over centuries. No wonder that there is so much trust still in the print medium. One of the brands that I handle, called Inkala, which is a 70-plus-year Urdu paper. Our readers tell us that we've been reading it, our Baap Dada have been reading, and we trust this brand and we respect this brand so much that we don't even want it away or sell it away in Raddi. That is the feeling they have for a paper like Inqilab. And it is not something that could have been developed by a Johnny come lately over the last 2-3 years. It required that more than half a century of daily giving high quality, credible content to the reader. Again, a recent subject being studied that is doing the rounds right now talks about the fact that 60% of people believe that their well-being is heightened when they consume mass media. Because yet again, well-being gets heightened when you trust people you're interacting with. And mass media, I think, still commands the maximum. The interesting part in this graph is also the credible radio commands. Now, you and I may think that radios, it's entertainment, music, RJs talking in between. So where is this credibility coming in here? But yet again, I think a very interesting ramification, and we ourselves were pleasantly surprised to see this high credibility is not so much with the medium as it is with the RJs. Because again, consistently, all radio stations have had is who have been interacting on a very personal basis with the listeners over a long period of time. Next slide, please. So, what has happened as a consequence of this? Much before this rise of tribalism, much before this conversation around micro influencers, RJs had started building their own community who believed and trusted in the RJ. And thus, today, in our search for influencers, when we look around and say, okay, this YouTuber, TikToker has so many zillion views and so many million page views, increasingly clients are asking page views and is all very good, but give me micro influencers who are also credible. And that is where people like RJs, people like editors are inching ahead slowly because they are the ones who have built up credibility over the last 20 years. And they are not, the YouTuber who suddenly comes up with a viral video and build that credibility. So yet another interesting trend that we are seeing is that more and more often our advertisers are asking to be associated with credible micro influencers, and they are finding credible micro influencers on legacy media platforms. Just as an example, one RJ in one of our smaller cities, a campaign that was done on his page versus a campaign that was done on the brand page, 8 times the number of views, because that's the kind of engagement that they have built up in a very sustained, consistent fashion over the last couple of decades by doing that same show 11 to 2 in the morning every day, 9 to 1 in the morning every day. Next slide, please. I also believe that one of the learnings we must draw from legacy media commanding so much credibility for their content is that publishers need to have the courage to get consumers to pay for content. Whether it is consumers directly, whether it is through getting Google to content, Facebook to pay for content, but we must have the guts to get a subscription pay model going. The worry always has been that, oh my God, if I raise my cover price, my circulation will dip. If my circulation dips, my readership will go down. Readership goes down, my advertiser will not pay me what I want. The actual fact is that if you are able to give credible content, there is no impact on circulation. If you see the table below, Gujarati Midday, one of the other brands in the Jagran stable, Inkalab, we've been steadily raising the cover price every year. Till today, when it is at 7 rupees and 8 rupees, it is twice the cover price of the English broadsheet in the same city. But there has been no impact on circulation. Similarly, Midday operates in different formats on a pay basis. So the website has a freemium subscription model. The paper obviously has a cover price at which you sell it. The digital tabloid, which we launched very successfully during the COVID, again is a subscription model. I think to de-risk the media business, we have to ensure that half our revenues come from subscription. I think it was 20 years ago when I was working with ZTV, and Subhash ji and I used to go meeting investors, and we used to say, today all our revenue comes from advertising, but sooner rather than later, 40% of our revenues will come from subscription. And no investor used to believe us. And yes, it took time. It took 10 years. But today, one of the reasons why television is in a better position than any other medium is because it has de-risked it by ensuring that nearly half its revenue comes from subscription. And I think that is something that, whether it is print publishers, digital publishers, I just wish a subscription model too, but everybody must ensure that the consumer pays for content, because that's the only way we will be able to give her credible content. Which brings me to my last trend that I want to talk to you. Next slide, please. And that is that in the last 3 years that I've been watching and have been part of the media industry, I have only seen engagement with media go up and up and up. When we first started doing media planning and media buying, we had very little choice because there was only one Hindi feature film and one Rangoli and one Chitrahar that we could advertise, and it was a very passive form of interaction with media. So the consumer and his family and the neighbors used to sit at 9 p.m. and watch the news together. They used to collect on Sunday and watch the Hindi feature film without having any watch what they were watching. Whatever Doordarshan showed us, we all had to watch. So from those days, one-way communication to when suddenly there was a plethora of channels and radio stations and print, etc., etc. This frequency and engagement only went up. To today, where not only it is about reach and frequency and engagement, it is equally and even more so about interaction. It is equally and even more so about user-generated content. Is the level of engagement the consumer is having with media, that the fourth wall, in a sense, her and the media has broken, because she sometimes herself is both the medium and the message. So the transition from a passive media ecosystem to a highly interactive media ecosystem is something that we've all watched in the last 30 years. The natural fallout, of course, has been that from 1 hour of media consumption today, the Indian consumer spends close to 9 hours interact all forms of media: print, radio, television, OTT, digital, social, outdoor, etc., etc., etc. But coupled with this increased engagement with media, the last 20 years have actually seen, next slide, please, increased commoditization of media buying. There used to be days where I remember big clients such as, Amul, etc., used to buy basis their subjective gut feel. Crores of spent on Amul Surabhi and Amul Chandrakanta and PNG. All the clients used to invest heavily in figuring out both quantitatively and qualitatively what works in media. Unfortunately, in these 20 years, all I have seen is media getting and more commoditized. Till today, the only conversation our media seller with the media buyer is on CPT. It is invariably and always a single line communication. What rate will you give me? What rate will you take it at? It is ironic, fortunate, it is extremely sad that on the one hand we see engagement go up fold with our direct consumer, which is the reader, the viewer, the listener of media. Equally, we are seeing a decrease in engagement, because what kind of conversation can you pointer on CPT? That this dramatic rise in media consumption has actually gone in tandem with the devaluation of our ecosystem. So that today, when you look around, media consumption, the Indian media consumer is spending almost as much time consuming media as his counterpart in China is, as his counterpart in US is. But the difference between per capita media spend is for all of us to see. $32. $32 is the per capita spend in India. $222 is the per capita spend in China, and 2,260 is the per capita spend in US. That is the magnitude of difference in per capita spends when consumption is broadly the same. It's just not the media product which has got devalued, let me tell you. I think somewhere, sadly, I've been a media planner for 10 years of my life. Sadly, it is the entire media ecosystem that has got devalued. So the media buyer and seller have only CPT conversations. The media agencies are seen as purchase managers. When once upon a time, media planning, media buying was a consultancy approach. The client value the inputs given by the media planner and media buyer, not a purchase manager relationship. Clients used to invest so heavily of their time in media, whereas today I see humongous amount of time being spent by clients on the creative elements of the ad, the digital campaign, the print communication, the radio audio spot, and minuscule spent time spent on the hundreds of crores spent on media. Because how much interest can anybody have in a purchase decision, in a purchase decision? So in summary, what I would like to say, my summary, can you magnify it? So the points that I'm making to all of you and the trends you must catch on to if you want to see the media industry prosper and succeed is one. Increasingly, advertisers are becoming very comfortable with phygital and hybrid solutions in the way they market to their consumers, in the way they sell to their consumers, where everything works, offline works, brick and mortar works, digital works, different distribution work. This advertiser is going to expect digit hybrid solution media, and we must be ready to apply the same to him. In the age of fake news, increased uncertainty which ought to stay for some time, it is legacy media platforms who have built credibility over consistency over time, by giving consistent quality over time, by giving fact-check news over time, that are commanding credibility. And micro influencers who are part of this legacy, part of these legacy credible platforms, will also command a pre over other types of influencers. As far as my own community is concerned, my message to them is getting consumers to pay for content is the only way to de-risk the media business model for all publishers. Commoditized purchase of media has eroded the value of the entire media industry, as we know. I mean, we are spending, our consumers spending 9 hours media. That's the second highest time he spends after sleeping. And what is the size of the media industry? 1% of GDP. When actually it should be at the center of the GDP. 9 hours being spent on this particular service. 1% of GDP. But all is not lost. As engagement with media goes up even further, and we will just figure out different ways of using hybrid media solutions. As engagement with media goes up, we need to figure out ways on how to create, how to actually monetize the value that our consumer is already for us by her increased engagement. So when I talk to you about what are the macro trends in media, when I talk to you about hybridization, about commoditization, about micros, I want to tell you that I'm not talking about print, radio, or outdoor. Not about print, radio, or outdoor. It is not about a publisher talking to a media planner or a media buyer or an advertiser. It is about the entire media industry. It is about the entire media ecosystem. And as I said right in the beginning, that the choice whether we will see a future full of hope or a future full of despair, the choice will see summer and spring coming on to a medium, to an industry which is stagnating today, is a choice that both of us have to make by understanding what is happening with our consumer, understanding what is happening with our advertiser, and coming up with new ways of engage with both so that we are really able to extract the maximum value for media as a whole. Thank you so much.